doing this as in the mornings is when I record. Yesterday I live streamed, but then it took all day to process, so I couldn't share it. So today we're going to try something different, which is recording, and then I will post it. And I did appreciate some of the live commentary, although it does kind of take me off track a little bit, to be honest. Maybe some days we'll switch it up. I mean, I'm never going to run out of things to say as we travel through the realm of the esoteric. Okay, here's what we have going on today in the heavens, as above, so below. It's good that we are in harmony with nature because we are nature, so it's being in harmony with ourselves. And we have something. There's the sun on the horizon rising right now. Conjunct an asteroid called Vesta. You see her symbol is a V with a V inside of it, which reminds me of Real Vision, my other channel to follow for more entertainment type stuff. But deep dive still. And then the Soul Wall rune on top of it, or Sigma in Greek, or Shin in Hebrew, which is fire or light. And Vesta is the Roman goddess equivalent to Hestia of the Greeks. And she is about the hearth, the home, the keeper of the sacred flame. So the sun today being conjunct, just moving past it. So over the night, it's highlighting. Although sometimes when the sun is directly over something, it kind of blots it out. So when it moves a degree off of it, and then sometimes it's able to let that power shine. It highlights it, the highlight in the sky. And likewise before, a degree before, but in different ways. One's approaching it, the other one is releasing off of it. So we have a meeting together of the sun, our consciousness, with Vesta. Now, the asteroids don't carry as much power, significance as the planets, but they add a little spice to it. And let's just go look into it. Vesta was the virgin goddess of the hearth, as we said, home, family in the Roman religion. Rarely depicted in human form, which is interesting. Was more often represented by the fire of her temple in the Forum Romanum. Yo, let's build back the Forum Romanum. A beautiful Aryan structure, totally demolished and desecrated by this Judeo-Christian Islam of faith. Anti-human, definitely anti-white, and black and brown. I recommend black and brown people to get in touch with your pre-Christian Judeo traditions and come up with an interpretation of it that isn't about wiping yourself out, about condemning your ancestors as demon worshippers because they didn't worship Yahweh. Moving on. Entry to her temple was permitted only to her priestesses. In North Star esotericism, Aryan esotericism, esoteric Aryanism, we bring together the traditions of the Europeans without losing your own tradition, because we don't want to serve as a melting pot, as which makes you cast away your ancestral heritage and cultural traditions. We seek to bring those up and maintain them. But what esoteric Aryanism, just in the very word Aryan, is a umbrella to that we could gather under. The Vestal Virgins. It reminds me of that song by Protocol Harum. A weird ass name. Procol Harum. What the we dance like Fandango. Then Procol Harum. How do they get their name? You see how I do go off on tangents. I don't even need a comment to help me to do that. It was an English rock and roll band. A whiter shade of pale. And so it was later, as the waiter told a tale, that at first faced ghostly, turned a whiter shade of pale. Sorry. Oh, do you appreciate my background today? I had to black out her naked body. And I thought I would put that up because we are in the season of Aquarius, and this card in the tarot is associated with Aquarius, the water bear. Water bear, water bear. Another good song. I read today that the middle pointed star, the 8-pointed star, which I use for North Star Esoteric, it's also related to Venus. 8 is related to Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius. And the 9th point would be in the middle, which is Mars, which is that fire, that life force, concentrated energy. And so with Saturn, it's in this, related to this imagery, it's the source of the power of the chakras, are the 7 stars around it. I read that, and I didn't know that today until it's related to the Hebrew letter Pei, or maybe Ayin as well. And maybe, yeah, those 2 letters. The Hebrew alphabet is close to matching up with the tarot, but some are just one off. And occultists, I know that name scares many people, those into the esoteric symbolism, metaphysics, they will sometimes put a Hebrew letter to a card to emphasize a different aspect on it, or something that they're trying to highlight. So they might switch around, most commonly the card, the strength card, and the Libra scales justice card, the 7 and 11, which is the 7 and 11 is deep. Relates to the 7th day of creation, Saturn, Libra. Saturn's exalted in Libra. And then the 11th sign of the zodiac, which is Aquarius, which is the home of Saturn, that 7-Eleven relationship is profound. Um, what's her name? Beyonce has a song called 7-Eleven. There's a game called 7-Eleven. But then when you look into her outfit, it's all it's very Masonic. I don't control the rights to this. Kali, she does the Kali dance of destruction, and she has the Kale or the Kali. I just put that together right now. Now she's a country music star, appropriating country music. Uh, I don't think this is her original. Oh, I thought she had a. Maybe it's not until the end. Oh, there we go. Oh, and she sits in. I mean, Jay-Z and Beyonce, how much do they know about the world of esoteric? A lock necklace, a lock and a knot are very associated with Saturn as it binds. And in the as Capricorn, it binds you can see in the very glyph of Capricorn, there's the tail of it is wrapped up into a knot. Glyph of Capricorn. There's two different ones, and each one still has that knot motif. See that? I think Capricorn is definitely the only sign that has three different ways of expressing it. These glyphs are profound. Virgo has a little bit of a knot at the bottom too, actually. But let's go look through the Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn. Yep. It is the only one that has multiple ways of drawing it. Because Capricorn, every sign has a duality. Some of it's more pronounced. Maybe some of them have a triplicity. They do because they each have a decan in it, which is 10 degrees in each 30 degree segment of the zodiac, which makes up a sign in the zodiac. We have Capricorn that could be the scapegoat. The mountain goat that works its way to the top. But also the goat herder. The word God is related to goad or to goad, to push up a mountain. So then you go into the leader, but it's like a spiritual leader. Because sometimes Capricorns can just be too material based, but also like in their spirituality is just more earthy. Lots of us, our spirituality is not grounded. Like myself, I lack Earth. I have Mars and Virgo in the 8th, and then a Capricorn ascendant. Your ascendant is really your key to ascending. In esoteric astrology, golly jeepers, our ascendant is more important than our sun sign. Would you believe that? Get that straight. All right, so we're just cruising through the heavens. The black and white checkerboard, duality. The ladder that ascends upon it is what brings us to the singularity, the source. And it's above our head like a crown. Did you see how she was wearing a crown on the top of her head? The crown is ruled by Saturn or the sun. Just as the third eye is ruled by the moon and Jupiter. Cancer at the top of the summer solstice, ruled by the moon. Jupiter exalted. Out of the third eye, the forehead of Jupiter was birthed the goddess Minerva, which is kind of the goddess more in her warrior form. She came out fully clothed in armor. But before that, you have to, before you meet her, you have to meet Hestia or the Vestal Virgins. Virgin, why? Because you have to be pure and clean. Bucket naked, like my goddess behind me, which might be Astrea. And it is about stripping away our false sense of self, ego. But that gets in New Age stuff, the ego, and even in Eastern stuff, or the way we interpret it in the West, the ego gets such a bad rap, but it's like we need it to live. But the problem is when we get lost in that. You're just feeding your ego all the time. You get to see people who are full of ego. They're not fun to be around. Often leads to pain, some type of fall. So the Vestal Virgins and the keepers of the temple, of the flame in the temple, when the Christians burnt down the temple, I think the Forum Romanum, and the sacred flame went out, Rome fell like the next freaking day. Oh, her festival was on Vestalia. Oh, Vestalia. From June 7th to June 15th. Yo, we should totally bring that back. June. So that's like the end of Taurus into Gemini. During Vestalia, privileged matrons walked barefoot through the city to the temple where they presented food offerings. Such was Vesta's importance to Roman religion that following the rise of Christianity, hers was one of the last non-Christian cults still active, until it was forcibly disbanded by Christian Emperor Theodosius I, let his name be blotted out in AD 391. When was the fall of Rome? When was the fall of Rome? I know the date's probably 476. Traditionally. 100 years after Theodosius. The myths depicting Vesta and her priestesses were few. The most notable of them were tales of miraculous impregnation of a virgin priestess. Oh, where does that sound familiar? By a phallus appearing in the flames of the sacred hearth. That is an homage to Osiris being resurrected by the goddesses Isis and Nephthys to give birth to Horus. In Roman traditions, Rome's founders Romulus and Remus and the benevolent king Servius Tullius. Ooh, he sounds cool. The second of its Etruscan dynasty. The Etruscans is where the Greeks got their stuff from. And the Romans took a lot from the Greeks. So the Etruscans, I know we talk about the Greeks all the time, like the philosophers and their wisdom was big. I mean, we've adopted their government system to this day. The Greco-Roman, but it was Etruscan before them. We have lots of their pottery still. Vesta was among the Dia Consentes, also just D or day. Where we get the word Diane from, I bet. The harmonious gods. An ancient list of 12 major deities, aka the 12 signs of the zodiac, I'm sure. 6 gods and 6 goddesses. Each sign of the zodiac, it alternates from Aries, masculine, fire, to Earth, Taurus, feminine, and all through the zodiac. Oh, her etymology. This is always, etymology is just the best. Ovid derived Vesta from the Latin vi stando, standing by power. Va is our spine. Sta is like star, light star. Astaric, Astara, sta is also stop, start. It has to do with time. It's a snake on the staff, which is our solstices. That's is a S on a cross, Earth. S, light, and T, time. Let's see if that pans out. Hestia, which Cornelius claims to have derived from Greek Hestania diapantos, standing forever. The sun soul stands still at the solstice. And other proposes that the etymology is from vestio, meaning to clothe, like a vestment, as well as from the Greek hestia, meaning hurt. Focus urbis. None except perhaps the last are probable. I would have said the last is the least probable. Oh, here, Jorge Dumézil, French philologist, linguist, and religious studies scholar. Note to self, look into this guy more. I've already heard of him before, but he knew about Proto-Indo-European mythology. We're trying to reconstruct it. Indo-European studies. Born in 1898. Let's see what he was doing for World War II, if he was working with the Axis. He worked with philologists such as Franz Alex Adalbert-Kuhn, Max Müller, big in religious studies, big in Proto-Indo-European studies, use the term Aryan. Allard Hugo Meyer, a German philologist. See, they're brilliant people, and Henry Herbert, here it comes down, always. Emil Durkheim, another big person in religious studies. I talk about this because I'm a religious studies master's degree seeker. He was known for his philautism. Hubert. Boo this man! Dumézil had deliberately avoided attending Hubert's lectures. Yay! And had to be convinced by Millet to provide Hubert with a copy of his PhD thesis, which Hubert criticized. Yeah. It always comes down to... Oh, the Scythians are big in the Proto-Indo-European world. Well, did you see that sign? It looked like the black sun. Iranologist. Persia and Iran was Aryan, and Iran have the same philological similarity. So does Ireland. So does the name Brian, or just Ryan. Wherever you see the R and the Y, think about it. Uh-oh. In the early 1930s, under the pseudonym Jorge Marcinet, he wrote some articles for the right-wing newspapers Candide and Le Jour, where he advocated an alliance between France and Italy against Nazi Germany. Boo this man. I'm sure, I mean, there are some reasons, perhaps. Dumézil's opposition to Nazism figures prominently in several of his later works on Germanic religion. At this time, he joined the Grand Lodge de France, a pro-Jewish Masonic lodge, for which he would later be persecuted by the Nazis. Rightfully so. Anyways, but it's not black and white. I'm sure there's very many underlappings. In Dumézil's trifunctional model, the priests were responsible for the maintenance of cosmic and juridical sovereignty, while warriors were tasked with the exercise of physical prowess, and the commoners the promotion of the well-being, fertility, wealth. In Norse mythologies, these functions were, according to him, represented by Tyr, Odin, and Thor, and Njordr and Freyr. While in Vedic mythology, they were represented by Varuna, Mitra, Indra, and Asvins. His trifunctional hypothesis would come to revolutionize modern research on ancient civilizations. He went and worked for the French army. Mitra Varuna. Interesting. Alright. See, that's the kind of stuff we're into here at North Star Esoteric. So, let us give special reverence today to and reflect upon the keeping the fire alive and us warming others, especially as it's cold, right? It's so cold. Like, we're experiencing the coldest winter where I'm from, across America right now, for generations. And so that's perhaps ironic how we have the goddess of this keeper, the sacred flame of the hearth, of the home, of the heart, being highlighted today. We also have Venus conjunct Mercury in Aquarius. You could have a pleasant communication with the group. You could have a conversation with the lover that's a little bit more logical today, Aquarian. Seeking peace, even. What else do we got going on today? Neptune, 4 minutes, 0 degrees into Aries. We're going to have 14 years to study what that's like. Today's day number 3 of it. Saturn's getting ready to close out Pisces, and that's so important. That's a 28.5 year cycle, 28 degrees. To the moon, 8 Saturn, 28.5 years for Saturn, 28.5 days of the moon. That's the moon Saturn matrix that we're in. I always come to that. It's crazy. There might be something there. Oh, today the moon is in Gemini. So that's a beautiful air trine to the sun in Aquarius. It's moving off of that. Tonight, tomorrow, it'll go into the more emotional Capricorn, opposite Capricorn, the Cancer. So all our outer planets are shifting. Before we had Neptune, not too long ago, we had Pluto go into Aquarius. That's a humongous thing. We're going to have Uranus, who's currently at 27 degrees. Retrograde will stop, go forward. We'll finally move out of Taurus into Gemini later on this year. So there's our 3 invisible planets, all moving to different signs at the same time. That's historic. So that's big changes on levels that are just subconscious, collective, conscious, the collective, generational, and therefore more subtle sometimes, or events that affect us all collectively. Big changes in that. We got Jupiter in Cancer retrograde, which is about at its midpoint. Jupiter's exalted in Cancer. This could give us a sense of nostalgia. This could really put America, who is Cancer, born July 4th, on the main stage. In retrograde, it's a little bit, America's in a little bit of, doesn't seem like it has much benevolence over it right now. But we still have another half of year. Jupiter spends 1 year in each sign. And so after 12 years, it makes its rotation, which I think why he's kind of in charge of, he's like the king of the heavens, because he gives us our 12. This is a good time for expanding. Jupiter, your intuition. It's also about like nationality. Now you could have a healthy, pointed, wisely sense of nationality, or your sense of nationality could be so skewed. Nationality and ethnicity were once married. Since the great European diaspora, especially with the creation of America, the melting pot, we lost a lot of that. We're very unique in that. Places like Ireland, their nationality and ethnicity are tied together. So concepts like National Socialism is like taking care of your nation, which means the ethnic people that make it up. National Socialism in America, that's a whole different thing. You go to the nation, the ethnicity that created this nation, and then be it a National Socialist in that way. The socialism comes from the left in like communal, like doing what's good for the whole. but not at expense of the individual, which is what which is what socialism often takes on. And these things, capitalism, National Socialism, is for private property, but against monopolyism. You know, a secret, the NS for North Star esotericism also stands for National Socialist esotericism. I'm not for everybody, but I'm here to explain it the best I can. And we venerate here Savitri Devi. Names we can't even say. You really think Christianity is the most banned religion? How about not quite? I know I talked about that yesterday. We have Jupiter. I'm sorry. We have Mars, who just, now what's that, 4 degrees, just past Pluto at 3 degrees in Aquarius. That's violent uprising on the masses. And now that's separating from that. They're trying to turn this Minnesota thing into, I think, a civil war. I mean, it's happening regardless. But those things are really escalating. And that would be very Mars conjunct Pluto in Aquarius. And now as it's separated by more than a degree, now we might be making sense out of what happened more as we have a little bit of separation. But that's going to linger. Violence, Mars, Pluto. Coming from the deep state. I hate the term deep state. Yeah, the deep state telling you it's the deep state so that you don't look at them. It's like some shadowy figures that can't even be named. Get a clue. All right, my friends. But while we do, we're wrapping up the first decan of Aquarius, which is ruled by Saturn or Uranus, and then when we go into the second decan, of Aquarius, it might be Venus, Mercury. We step into it tomorrow. So before let's go to the first decan of Aquarius. The tarot cards are matched up with the decans well. Aquarius decan represents the most pure Aquarius energy, ruled primarily by Uranus, the disruptor. It's like revelation. The mind of God uploads, bro. It's got a major download today. I make fun. I've been making fun of New Age people, but maybe I shouldn't so much. It's better than the Christians. I've been making fun of Christians too. I'm just gonna have no audience. But remember that card that we pulled yesterday? What does it say? You're not for everyone. Embrace your weirdness. Face your true North Star. That was wild that we picked that card yesterday for my first one. All right. It represents pure Aquarius energy, ruled primarily by Uranus, modern day. But I used to be very much against like using these far out rulers for a sign, which I still am when you look at your zodiac, your birth chart, or just charts in general. But there is something about it. So if you're a Scorpio, Pluto, the modern day ruler, together with Mars, the ancient. Some say they replace one another, but I don't think many people believe that. Sagittarius only has one, Capricorn one, Aquarius, Uranus, and then Pisces, Neptune, and Jupiter. Aquarius, Uranus, and Saturn. Okay. So the first 10 degrees represent innovation, independence, and humanitarian ideals. Yeah. Often with intense individuality and a strong blueprint for change. Sometimes seen as rebellious, but driven by a deep sense of fairness and breaking norms with a unique blend of fixed air and a visionary rule-breaking spirit. Social justice. That's your social justice warrior. Well, hopefully they're not with Neptune going into Aries. That's like Neptune in Pisces, as we talk about, is the dream delusion. And then when Neptune goes into Aries, then it's like, okay, now you take that delusion into war. It's like, that's like going and dying for Christianity. That total fictional lie. Dark Star Astrology, I would recommend this. It's so good. Oh no. Well, that one too, but Astrology King. If you want to, if you want to go deep, I would recommend these two. It'll teach you about the degrees. Oh, let's go look up what's the ninth degree of each degree is given a meaning. Meaning of the ninth degree of Aquarius. You know, sometimes just go live your life, but I like to look into this stuff. The ninth, what are they called? They have a certain name. The guy who put them together. Sabian symbols. By Dane Rudyar. Thank you for it. He tapped in and just came out with this stuff. First level actional Aquarius 1. An old Adobe mission in California. I mean, obviously he related this to his own life, but let's see what he came up with for 9. A flag is seen turning into an eagle. Now, he might have been hopped up on some peyote. But obviously he knew astrology and numerology. The dynamic incorporation of new social values in individuals who exemplify the spiritual potential and greatest significance of these values. You see, he knew about the social aspect and social values in that sense of Aquarius is a little bit dualistic in the way that it is a humanitarian, but it's also an air sign. So they could be emotionally detached while being humanitarian at the same time. If you're looking for somebody to cry with you, I wouldn't go to an Aquarius unless they're late in the sign and they have more Pisces energy. If you go to cry to a Pisces, they just might start crying harder than you, and then you got to console them. Man, this stuff's so crazy, man. If you go emotionally, go to look to have somebody emotionally relate to you, an Aquarius would not be the one. But sometimes you might need that to help get you out of the waters. They'll give you a little bit more of a bird's eye perspective of things. They're often very wise. That's why you'll see the symbol here nearly duplicates the one for Sagittarius, which is the home of the wise sage. This symbol nearly duplicates the one for Sagittarius, but in this fivefold sequence, it has a somewhat different meaning, especially since the last term of this mysterious transformation, i.e. the crowning of the eagle in Chanticleer's fashion, is omitted. All that implied here is the vitalization of a powerful symbol, its embodiment in a living reality, i.e. in a person able to fly in consciousness to the highest spiritual realm. The archetype is given living substance and wings. The image has become a power. Damn. This fourth stage symbol, as usual, gives us a technical suggestion to see the new archetype, to perceive the new standard of value with one's mind is not enough. The seer must become the doer. The impersonal is dynamized and brought into focus. We have here the acting out of the vision. Dude, this shit is deep. Symbols, the language of symbols, it just goes on. And then tomorrow, or later today, we'll step into the 10th degree. A man who had for a time become the embodiment of a popular ideal is made to realize that as a person, he is not this ideal. Oh, damn. I get that a lot too. Well, my sisters tell me, they're like, you can't go on and giving spiritual advice when you yourself are smoke cigarettes and don't have the best diet. And there was some truth to that. Maybe today, I'll start to come to that. But hey, let's go ahead and read it. Keynote: the need to deal with human beings as persons rather than as screens upon which one projects one's dreams and ideal. Oh, having an unrealistic expectation of others. And how oftentimes that is us projecting our own lack onto others. Oh, that's almost like celebrity worship. Like, let me be such a fanboy of this athlete or actor because they are living your ideal out. So let us embody. You know what? In academia and the liberal arts, we talk about embodiment a lot. Embodiment in the humanities. Embodiment in, and just leave it to the social sciences to gay it up. I'm gonna get banned. This is in jest. I mean, I use humor. Sometimes it might trigger whatever. Embodiment in the humanities investigates how human experience is lived. Yeah, we talk about a lived religion, studying things like that. Embodiment in the humanities investigates how human experience is lived, understood, and produced through the physical body rather than just the mind. Bringing the mind and the body together, we've been talking about that. And then further, bridging the historic divide between nature and culture. It serves as a multidisciplinary framework examining bodily sensations, performance, and material existence across fields like history, literature, and art. Embodied methodologies, moving beyond traditional text-based analysis to include performance and reenactment. Lots of lesbians will go and study indigenous African dance and do a PhD in it at Harvard and then make everybody else take that class, which you can really just read one article on, but they make a whole class out of it. And then the next session is abolishing whiteness, a class held on universities. I think it was Harvard. Harvard class about abolishing whiteness. It was either given by probably a non-white professor, Noel Ignatieff, who everybody loves, gained attention for advocating the abolition of the white race, viewing whiteness as not even a thing, just a social construct, supporting white supremacy. And guess what Noel Ignatieff is? And we're going to leave it there today. Let us get clear of mind with a good marriage of the heart and the mind, so that we go forth in truth, not fighting for some lie, being harmonious with nature. And may the goddess Vesta forever keep our flame lit and growing. So may it be.